That day, the four fairies were practicing their performance and doing some dance movements. While they were performing a backward movement, Muse and Salama accidentally bumped into each other. At the same time, Kobori also fell because she couldn't keep her balance, and Sylphie continued with her moves. Their greetings to the audience sounded unenthusiastic. Seiya said that their performance was really bad, and Isuzu commented that their movements were totally out of sync. Mawful suspected that they secretly hated each other. The fairies received a dinner invitation from Latifa. Salama thought they were all going to be fired, but Kobori was sure that wouldn't happen. They saw Sylphie lost in thought, looking at a tree that was supposed to be blooming more. Latifa called them over and immediately told them to try the dishes she had prepared. Sylphie happily devoured the food, and Muse asked if Latifa had invited them to dinner. Latifa explained that Seiya had told her about the fairies' struggles with their new performance. Muse scolded Salama for being rude by pulling out her phone while talking to Latifa. Salama apologized to Latifa, explaining that she just wanted to update her social media status. Latifa then asked if she was boring. Muse clarified that it wasn't like that and pointed out that Sylphie was happily eating. Muse also explained that Salama wasn't bored. She was just posting a status online. Salama asked Muse not to overreact because Latifa just wanted to have a heart-to-heart conversation. Latifa acknowledged that the fairies had been working together for less than 6 months. Muse explained that they had replaced the previous team who left at the same time. Latifa then mentioned that it was actually Mawful and the others who had initiated the dinner gathering. Salama joked that the fairies were like old men chatting while eating stew. Muse immediately scolded Salama, saying that Mawful was genuinely concerned about the fairies. Salama seemed annoyed by Muse's lecturing. Muse and Salama started arguing, and Kobori tried to calm them down so they would make up. Meanwhile, Sylphie was still focused on enjoying her meal. Latifa said she wanted to grab some sauce from the back, and Muse offered to get it for her, but Latifa declined, saying they were all her guests. Latifa then asked them to stay put, and before leaving, she warned them not to press a certain button in the room as it controlled the entire mechanism of the castle. Muse was curious about what the button did. Kobori reminded them not to press it, but Salama approached the button and said that if they wanted to know what it did, they had to press it. Muse immediately stopped her, and the two began arguing. During their argument, Muse accidentally pushed into the button, and when her head hit it, an alarm went off. The warning lights flashed, and all the doors and windows of the castle automatically locked, trapping Latifat inside. All the cannons around the castle were also automatically activated. Okuro quickly ran to check the castle, but the cannons fired at him as soon as he approached. Latifa managed to reach the defense post and told Seiya and Isuzu that what was happening to the castle was due to the automatic defense system. Latifa explained that when the security system was activated, it automatically destroyed any intruders in the castle's vicinity. Seiya was puzzled as to why an amusement park would have a castle security system. Isuzu explained that the system was designed to protect Latifa, and as a precaution, it was meant to prevent any foreign intruders. Toriken helped evacuate everyone, but Okuro was still lying weakly. Macaron and Tirami led the troops to attack, but unfortunately, the automatic cannons had unmatched accuracy and continued to fire at anyone who got too close to the castle. Seiya wanted to contact the fairies, but they couldn't get out either. Seiya realized that while the system protected Latifa, if she was locked outside, the system would be useless. Salama posted a status on her social media, saying she was trapped. The system would automatically stop in 24 hours, so all they could do was wait until 9 p.m. the next day, as the system would attack anyone approaching the castle. Because of that, they would have to close the park the next day, even though it was a Saturday and they were expecting a surge in visitors. The war casualties from the castle cannons were immediately treated by Genjuro. Suddenly, Mawful decided to launch an airstrike by riding on Rubrum. Rubrum admitted that he was a home dragon and wasn't good at flying. Mawful didn't care, as finding a way out was the most important thing. He quickly swung his magic kendo and headed toward the top of the castle while the cannons shot at him. Mawful immediately swung his kendo again and released an electric attack to deflect the cannonballs. Rubrum was amazed by Mawful's skill, but unfortunately, he was hit by a cannonball and fell. All the efforts made by Mawful, Macaron, and Tirami were in vain. Isuzu said that the people inside the castle had to turn off the emergency switch. Tirami was frustrated, wondering why Isuzu didn't tell them earlier before they got beaten up. Isuzu mentioned that there seemed to be a secret passage beneath Latifa's room, and that was where they could turn off the emergency switch. Isuzu also said, based on the book she was reading, that it took 4 people to activate it. Apparently, Latifa didn't know about it beforehand. Isuzu then contacted Muse and the others. Isuzu told Muse to find a blue water pot in Latifah's room and turn it. After Muse turned it, the secret passage suddenly opened. Muse and the others quickly descended into the passage to find the emergency switch. They were confused as to why it required 4 people. After walking through the passage, they saw a wall with an inscription that read, "First Challenge." They opened the door only to find that the room was a karaoke room. They were shocked to discover there was a karaoke room inside the castle. The challenge was that the 4 of them had to sing and score a total of 300 points. If they failed, they would have to repeat it after receiving a punishment. Mawful and the others turned on the monitor to connect with the 4 fairies. When it was turned on, they were surprised to see Muse singing in the room. Isuzu explained that they had to go through a series of challenges to reach the emergency switch, and karaoke was one of them. They watched as Muse performed really well, and Latifah was confident they could pass this challenge. However, Isuzu said it wasn't certain because the machine would evaluate the total score of all 4 of them. If one of them was tone deaf, it would ruin the efforts of the others. Kobori joined in and sang, and her voice was actually pretty good for karaoke. Terumi mentioned that Kobori had hidden talent. Macaron realized that Kobori wasn't the innocent girl she thought. Kobori's score kept rising. Saya and the others enjoyed the song performed by Muse and Kobori. Next up was Sylphie. Her voice was pretty good, but it seemed like she was more focused on the choreography and her vocals. For that assessment, Sylphie wasn't really favored. Latifah hoped their evaluations would be fine, but her hopes were dashed when they heard Salama singing. Salama sang off-key with a flat voice and a slow tempo. Terumi finally understood why Salama always refused her karaoke invitations. Isuzu said that Salama needed at least 50 points for them to pass the challenge. The 4 of them sang together, but it sounded off-sync because Salama's voice was off-key. After the song ended, Salama's score appeared. Unfortunately, Salama only scored 41 points and they failed the challenge. An automatic weapon shot electricity at the 4 of them, and Saya could even see their bones on the monitor. They repeated the song again. After Kobori, Salama, and Sylphie got their scores, they felt pessimistic because their total was still too low. Salama admitted that she was terrible at singing and feared they would fail again because her score was so small. Reluctantly, Muse had to get perfect score if they were to pass the karaoke challenge. Muse reassured Salama, telling her that she believed they could do it. Muse then stepped forward to finish her song. She sang beautifully with a calm demeanor and managed to captivate everyone watching her. Saya even praised her performance. Latifah also enjoyed watching Muse sing. Muse put in a lot of effort to sing well until she completed the song. When she finished, her score was 100 and their total score reached 301, meaning they passed the first challenge. The fairies were all very happy. Saya could hardly believe they got a perfect score, but Latifah had expected that Muse would pull it off. Unintentionally, Muse and Salama appeared to be very close, and when they realized it, Salama immediately thanked her. The door opened automatically, and they prepared for the second challenge. The second challenge required them to dance and score at least 300 points, or else they would face a heavy punishment. Kobori was shocked by the challenge, unlike Salama, who was ready to take it on. Mawful knew that Kobori would struggle with this challenge. Terumi commented that Kobori was a bit stiff, and Saya was curious why Kobori had been hired as a dancer. The music started playing, and Salama and Sylphie danced energetically. However, Kobori seemed to have trouble transitioning between dance moves. They continued dancing until the music ended. Muse, Sylphie, and Salama were able to move smoothly between the changes, but Kobori was often late when switching movements. When the music stopped, their scores appeared. Sylphie got 98, Salama and Muse both got 78, while Kobori only got 41. They failed and were immediately hit with a punishment. Flour rained down from the ceiling, and Kobori apologized to her friends. Just as Mawful had predicted, Kobori had trouble with the challenge. Latifah was disappointed as they had all tried their best. Saya remarked that this wasn't about emergency protocols, it was just absurd entertainment. Isuzu explained that according to the book, it seemed the place was originally built by the architects of the castle, who had created a system they saw as an amusement park. The fairies tried the dance challenge again, and unfortunately, their scores were still below 300, and they were hit with another flower punishment. Kobori felt incredibly guilty. Suddenly, Sylphie cheered everyone up. She danced even more energetically than before, inspiring her friends to do the same. In the end, they managed to score 302 and pass the second challenge. They were ecstatic and hugged each other. Saya sighed with relief that they had made it. Macaron mentioned that every challenge was based on the group's weaknesses. Latifah was truly moved because the 4 of them had passed another challenge, But Mawful reminded them that it was too early to relax since there were still more challenges ahead. The third challenge was typing speed. A sentence would appear on the screen, and they had to type it exactly. Salama, Sylphie, and Kobori managed to complete the task, but Muse failed. They immediately faced a punishment as a round tray landed on each of their heads. Saya said the punishment was brutal, and Tirami remarked that Muse was terrible at typing. Makarao noted that Salama was incredibly fast at typing. Once again, Muse failed to finish the sentence, and they all received another punishment. They tried again, but the text they had to type was long and complicated. They quickly started typing, and Salama sped through it. When they finished, Muse was scared they'd be punished again. But they succeeded this time because Salama's score exceeded the required limit. Sylphie and Kobori praised her. Muse cried when she saw her own score, which was much lower. Seeing Muse about to cry, Salama patted her back. The door to the room opened, and they had to prepare for the next challenge. The fairies seemed to be growing more united, and their teamwork was getting better. Tirami had initially thought they would give up quickly. The fourth challenge was the final one. They each entered a separate room. On the monitor, there was an instruction to sacrifice one member, and if the total votes of each person didn't surpass the others, those votes would be invalid. Above them was a deadly drill. Whoever received the most votes would be sacrificed to the drill, but if all of them got one vote or less, no one would die. This meant that if they voted for themselves, their chances of survival would be higher. Muse was confused about what she should choose. She then remembered the times they had spent together during the previous challenges, and she decided to sacrifice herself because she wanted to be on stage with all of them. Once Muse voted for herself, the drill stopped and the door opened. They all made it out alive. They hugged each other in joy because they had passed all the challenges. Latifa was even touched by the scene, and Saya remarked that it seemed like the original goal of the Sukiyaki party had been achieved. Together, the four of them pressed the emergency switch. After that, Saya asked everyone else, aside from the rescue team, to help prepare the area around the castle. The next day, the fairies performed for the visitors at Elementario. They danced with perfect coordination and energy. Their performance was amazing, and the audience applauded, clearly enjoying it. With only 21 days left, their target number was still 135,877 people short.